find out. So this time around, King's Zone for game number 3 will choose red once again. Wouldn't be surprised if the bans look a little bit similar this time, Papa.
Now let's rewind, because you are mentioning the bans from game number 1. On blue side, those bans coming through from Afreeca, Nidalee, Swain, Olaf, basically forcing a Trundle ban to come through from King's Zone. King's Zone have banned Rakan Karma on blue and red side, and almost certainly will continue to, as they have a very interesting strategy going on in this game number 3, but they have Mowgli in the lineup. And Mowgli's champion pool from the jungle, his effective champion pool, is smaller than what we see coming through from his other number in Spirit. So in this particular game, do notice they go for the same bans anyway. Does that mean that jungle priority will be higher? Because they did allow Spirit to wait to the second round of picks and then take the Gragas, rather than going for a priority pick first pick, which we see from most teams in the LCK.
Yep, last time we saw the first pick on the Tahm Kench. Lots of thought into this one, and you notice the target ban against Mowgli. No Zac for Mowgli this time around, so what's he going to play coming into this one? His next most play would be the Sejuani. Do they want to pick it up here first? Looks like they're looking elsewhere.
It feels really bad to first pick the Sejuani with everything that's available, generic tank jungles available. And you just had to deal with the flex pick Sion in game number 2. So it feels like we're going back to the meta a month ago, but first pick Sion, even on patch 7.6, 8.6 I should say, is happening. That was a year in the past there. Now notice the Trundle ban was forced in game number 1. They're not actually going to ban the Trundle in game number 2. Haven't seen Mowgli on that pick yet. And we're actually going to see the Trundle potentially taken here for King's Zone, a true flex pick. Khan very happy to jump onto it in the top lane.
Yeah, could see a similar ban pick, actually, to game number 2, and the fact that, you know, you get the first pick on the Sion, immediately it gets answered with another Trundle in the jungle.
But on red side, you get to think about it, you get to savor the moment, and then decide later. And it seems like King's Zone have a different tier list to other teams. They're taking Kai'Sa whenever it's open.
I mean, after you see game 2, do you blame them? We saw them pick it twice in a row. They pick it for a third time after a star performance from Prey. No surprise from me that they go for that Kai'Sa, that they're putting so much priority on it when Prey is playing the way he is on that champion.
And they know that Kai'Sa is emerging as a better tank buster than Varus. Not a huge surprise, but it is something that's a bit more risky because of the shorter range. Will Afreeca go Varus 3 times in a row? Is the big question about this draft. Because if they don't take it here, it'll probably be banned in the second round.
Well, we saw so much Varus from Kramer against the KT in their series in the semifinals. Does he want to hop off of it to try to counter this Kai'Sa? Looks like they're going to lean towards Tahm Kench again. That was their first pick in game number 1. This time they go for it in the second rotation. Means that maybe that Varus gets targeted.
It's a bit more vulnerable as well. The Tahm Kench really hates having to deal with the Trundle pillar. Has to blow flash in many other scenarios when saving a teammate. So not necessarily going to be as free a draft as it was, or proved to be in game number 1. Seems like there will be more AD carry bans. Suddenly you look and think, maybe Kramer will be playing something like the Jinx this game. If we see some more standard bans. Morgana priority, much higher in this series than we've had in the LCK all season. Definitely King's Zone have used their time off to watch the LCS regions and jump on the Morgana hype train. Mikhail's, the Black Shield, doesn't matter how much CC there is. Seems like Prey is once again primed to pop off.
Certainly true, and it's very concerning for Mowgli too. There's going to be so much help with the Black Shield to make sure that Skarner is very useless, as we saw in game number 1 from Peanut. So Afreeca Freecs, more pressure on them to get far ahead and have that Skarner be available and actually do something earlier on in the game.
Look at this ban, a Vayne ban straight up against Afreeca Freecs, saying, hey, we want to put together some more tanks. This is another riskier choice into most laners that you can lane against Kai'Sa because of her lesser range and lesser 2v2 power outside of an all-in. They ban away the Vayne on 8.6. Opposite day in some ways today, as what is old is new again. Gangplank ban does come against King's Zone. They seem to be thinking that Peanut will be running the Trundle in the jungle.
Yeah. cool to see that they prioritized the Morgana over the Gangplank as well. Could have gone for that Gangplank early and risk being countered, but we've seen so much power on that Gangplank. Funny to see it just fall through. Really want that Morgana. The Varus gets banned here. Kind of obvious afterwards. You know, Kramer's playing so much of it. After the Vayne ban, certainly makes sense.
It's such a weird one. I mean, Vayne and Varus are basically next to each other. They're very close on the keyboard. I don't think it was a misban, but we'll never know, it seems like. Still, the Varus taken away. The Vayne taken away. Notice here we do see a Zoe ban. They're basically saying, hey, what about an Azir in the mid lane coming through from Kingzone, as that was the choice earlier. But it seems like Kingzone want a last pick for mid lane this time. They will be committing to the Trundle jungle if they take this Cho'Gath for top.
Cho'Gath in top certainly can do well against the tanks. Would Keen consider going on something a little bit more aggressive when the Cho'Gath is thrown out there as a blind pick? I feel like all the people watching right now, they don't really want to see tanks versus tanks again. It'll be very refreshing to see Keen, who's been having a very solid performance so far in 2 games, try to pop off on a carry pick.
Well, this is the million-dollar question. Seems like the Scion will be going top. It is going to be an Azir mid lane, so already another threat on the side of Afreeca. The 80 carry pick, you expect to be something pretty high damage, but they have to also respond to the threats already posed by Kingzone. Ezreal here would be something we would see in previous metas and previous weeks, but it's all about tanks and tank shredders, it feels like today. What will be the final decision? Afreeca taking the maximum time. This would not be a tank shredder. They're actually looking for proactivity around the Skarner, and they're going to rely on the consistent damage from the Azir instead.
Yeah, gonna have that late game damage with that. Certainly will be necessary for taking out Barons as well on the blue side, because Jhin, notably, not very fast on those Barons. So going for a bit more utility from the 80 carry role. Thinking about a mid laner here now for BDD. Something to go up against the Azir. Would be our first Taliyah in the finals. Is going to get locked in for the Taliyah versus Azir matchup.
And these early rotation Taliyahs that was so common before the Yasuo are a thing of the past. It's a last pick Taliyah. Because Taliyah is seen as a risky pick with so many mid laners, BDD and Kuro included, spamming Conqueror, Yasuo, and solo queue, and other potential counter picks to the Taliyah. So he eventually does lock in. Ultra comfort, but it has to be at the final pick. They had to sacrifice the Flex Trundle earlier just to get this particular Taliyah matchup.
Yep, you talk about counter picks, you talk about blind picks, stuff like that. These two teams have picked red side every single time they get a chance, and this is part of the reason. They get that last pick, they put BDD on a champion he's very, very comfortable in, knows this matchup very well, is able to sneak out that Taliyah. We'll see if he can have a superstar performance this time around.
And we take a deep breath, we take a step back, and we say, you know, it started with tanks, it didn't end with tanks. The tank quotient is lower in this particular game. Skarner and Tahm Kench, imitations of tank, and sure, Cho'Gath, Trundle, Scion, no happy stories there. But from 7 to 3, we're finally moving on.
We made some progress. Also, a couple of new picks coming in for the series. Of course, the Jhin and the Taliyah hitting the Rift this time around, so we'll at least have some uniqueness for game number 3.
Will the Jhin be able to puncture if the game goes long? You can go the traditional build and your 4th auto does real damage, but we know how little damage that ultimate does when 2 armor items come in. Khan had a really big game on the Cho'Gath, and Peanut jumping on the Trundle doesn't fit his usual wheelhouse, but the junglers up and junglers down have so far been the story of this series.
Yeah. Certainly all the target bans forcing Peanut into this row. We'll see if he can have a solid performance once again, as we're just about ready to jump into game number 3. We're all tied up once again, guys, 1-1. Who's gonna take the lead in game number 3? Let's find out right now. Here we go, going into game number 3. Have to mention already, we got some deep wards. Kingzone trying to come in here and scare off Afreeca. Land on the wards early into the red side jungle.
Potential spot for a all-in if they try to come to lane early. This also usually starts vertical jungling, which would be a happy news, whichever duo lane had their junglers spending the majority of the early game on the bottom side. Seems like Afreeca says, we do not want to have the Jhin pushed in. We need some lane control. Bot lane, they want to re-invade their jungle and stop there being Peanut stealing away red buff in this early game.
Nice ward there from Afreeca is going to spot the bottom lane. Returning back to lane, but then actually going back into the brush. So some very good information for Afreeca. They're still going into the brush, though, here. Is going to be delayed into getting into the lane here.
They don't want to go for the full commit. It does end up being a semi-cheese, but only something to mean that they hit the lane first and that the Kai'Sa doesn't lose the race towards level 2. It's going to be helpful, but not necessarily end the game by any means. Should mention, it's our first Jhin on patch 8.6. It's worth noting that right now we have been told that Rageblade is disabled for Jhin. What that means is, if the Jhin player buys Rageblade on patch 8.6, he will be forced to go back to base and sell it and take the gold loss. Now, they have the full information. They cannot build Rageblade, but there's always those tendencies. The item is still clickable. It is not allowed.
Just don't do it. I'm sure the coach is reminding Kramer before we got into the game. You don't want to make a mistake like that and have that hurt your chances. Again, focus on Mowgli.
He's here really early.
Look at this. Level 2 is Khan. Going to be very hard. He's already taken a lot of damage. Is going to be looked to be slowed. The flash comes in from Keen, and the red buff is going to be Brock. No escape for the top laner. First blood goes over to Keen in the top lane.
And that's what happens when you have a jungler come off the bench, has been able to watch the first 2 games, see the tendencies. There hadn't been those early ganks, and Peanut, when you're on the Trundle, you want to be about the counter gank rather than necessarily the proactive gank. No response from Peanut. He was full clearing. Nicely done from Mowgli on his birthday.
As I said before, you look at his face, so stoic. It's like nothing even happened. This guy is not affected. He's not going to get excited. And that's what I love about this player. Looking to give himself a little bit of a birthday present, coming in here and having a good performance so far. Will it be traded back, though? The flash was blown onto Keen, looking for the knock-up here. Here comes Peanut. Once that pillar goes down, can he escape from here? Is there enough damage, though? It looks like it's close. Down he will go, and the trade back kill will go over to Khan.
Well, top lane's no longer an island. Apparently it's an extension of the jungle in this early game. Keen's actually got a bit of time to push back the wave a little bit, but much more action in game number 3 in the top side. I wonder if that was a level 1 read when they saw the rejuve beads start coming through from the Trundle, suggesting he wouldn't be healthy to actually go for an early gank. But apparently Mowgli wants to opt in. It's a 2v2 topside, Valdez.
Yeah, Keen, in the trash talk, he said, this is going to have to turn into some jungle help onto Khan if he wants to win the lane. And to actually mix up the lane, kind of predicting all the tanks that we've seen so far. 2 early ganks. Mowgli was thinking about another one and decides against it here because the wave wasn't really in the best spot. He's just going to have to go back and buy.
Bot lane has a lot of interesting things to talk about. Usually everything about the Jhin lane is whether you hit the Deadly Flourish, get the stun duration. Doing that against the Black Shield, tricky to do. But because Morgana and Kai'Sa are so squishy, if you open up with the Curtain Call and there isn't an all-in option available from Kingzone, you can pretty much blow away the support, let alone the AD carry, very easily. It's not a melee support versus Jhin. It's a range support against Jhin. So as level 6 is crested, definitely some all-in options available for Afreeca in the 2v2.
See if they go for it. So far, no jungle love to the bottom side because we've been seeing it so much in the top. But as I say that, both Mowgli and Peanut thinking about coming in here. Azir, Kuro does go back, and Peanut will take that time to come in and steal some of the Raptors. Got to get a lead somewhere on the map. Notice the BDD also coming down here just to help out after pushing, as is the way of Talia. Peanut going to clean up most of these Raptors and get a small lead in the jungle.
What you're seeing on your screen is the definition of mid lane priority. BDD can leave, and Kuro asks where is he going, because the control ward is there. He doesn't know for sure whether he's going towards the bot side or just helping with the Raptor steal. Trundle feels confident enough to walk up and steal away the Raptors. They last picked the Talia. They felt confident in the 2v2, and if they can keep mid lane control, specifically the bot side towards the bot lane, and then the roam coming through from the Weaver's Wall will be that much less accountable, and the potential for the roam to happen goes up.
Mowgli doing a nice job after the top side coming in here. Gets his Raptors stolen, but takes over the majority of the vision there outside of the Rift Scuttler there in the river. You'll notice double control ward. He cleans out 2 of the control wards. Going to be especially important. As you were talking about, Kramer and Tucson definitely have an opportunity to all in. Would be nice to have a Skarner with you and also try to make a play towards that Infernal Drain.
My eyes can't be any more dilated, Valdez. It's a Zeal Rush on the Jhin. of any starting item on Jhin, I have never seen a Zeal Rush. Rapid Fire Cannon might be the choice. That's usually the Zeal item that you pick up. He's going for a Zeal Rush on Jhin. No Essence Reaver, no Yoma's Ghostblade. We're going different.
Very curious to see what he's got here. Certainly the Jhin was not super expected. I mean, we expected, 5 games of Aris, but once it gets banned away, Kramer forced onto something new. We didn't expect that to mean a new build, but again, we talked about the genius of the Afreeca coaches. Do they have something concocted here for this Jhin pick?
And while we praise Spirit as this mad genius from the jungle, Lulu jungle, Poppy jungle, I think Kramer's a bit hipster about that because this is the guy who played Wits End Lucian in the LMS. So this guy also is known for thinking outside the box. They also have a great coaching staff in Comet and Zephyr who watch other regions and try to come up with creative stuff. Now, Rapid Fire Cannon, extending that range can be very powerful for Kramer. If it's any other choice, the Hurricane Rush, I've seen Hurricane Jhin in previous metas, but as a rushed item, this is strange.
Well, eyes are going to be onto that Jhin to see exactly what he's got concocted for this build. Mowgli hits level 6 before Peanut does, and so you can notice, as I was saying before, trying to get some vision into that river, see if he can set up a gank somewhere. Into the mid side onto Talia would be extremely nice. See what he can set up for now. Just going to go towards that blue buff.
I think I've done a good job of getting back the mid lane priority. One control ward on the top side, not scouted out, as Skarner hits 6 as well. So getting any sort of roam from BDD, unless he's coming from base and going all the way down the lane, is pretty tricky to do. It's going to extend the game pretty happily here. I think Afreeca will be happy to opt into that. Seen Afreeca put more value in killing Krugs as a bot lane duo than any team in recent memory, but that's just because lane control against the Morgana was there for Kingzone.
Yeah, they just feel like, okay, we don't really have to stay in the lane. We're going to be pushed in a little bit, or at least lose that lane one way or another. Hold that thought as Mowgli looking for a gank here. Trying to run on into the mid lane. Doesn't pop the Predator, just showing his face once again, making BDD a bit scared.
Not going to be scared enough to flash, though, and the flash being down is what Kuro is looking for to pull off a Streamer Shuffle play. Bit tepid of a gank there. As bot lane has been just as non-interactive as possible after the hype of the early 2 kills.
Yeah. They're both going to be happy. They'll say, I was part of this game. I went 1-1.
Jin's backing, so Prey could have considered a killer instinct, but they have no deep vision on the red side jungle of Afreeca, so he takes a deep breath and backs away.
It's awkward because he thought that a move from Kai'Sa was going to hit him, but actually the minion blocked it, but he still stopped his back, so he decides to stay down there on the bottom side. I'm gonna look for this Rift Scuttle once again, trying to get the vision in the river with the help of Gorilla. We notice that the bottom lane is suffering a little bit, so Gorilla will offer his help elsewhere on the map.
Banner command value higher for Khan than it is for Keen, because Khan can just feast onto that particular objective. The use of the W just to interrupt backs is something we haven't talked about with Kai'Sa, but its immense range makes that possible as it is a rapid fire cannon rush. I was thinking of the 3 options. Hurricane Jhin, again, has been done as a later item, but it's very, very situational. The Phantom Dancer against an AD carry that likes to all-in has some value, but if you get Killer Instinct, you've got bigger problems to deal with. The 12% damage reduction isn't going to do it. So it's still a very standard item. It's just without an Essence Reaver, and I guess with the lethality being toned down, it is a rush on the Rapid Fire Cannon.
Curious to see if he can make something happen with that item build. The bottom lane of Kingzone goes back, and once again, the river control will go over to Afreeca, but not in a big way. This has kind of been a slower game to start off after the top lane shenanigans, as both these teams are just farming up for that mid-game.
Game 1 definitely defined by the mistakes from Kingzone and the cool, calm, and collected play from Afreeca. Game 2, Kingzone were able to actually close out the leaders. Speaking of excitement,
well, Gorilla tries to go for the engage, but Tucson is too quick, immediately Devour flashes himself. Just going to trade flash for flash. In the end of it, Gorilla, though, does blow his ult.
The timing is relevant. They're able to clear out a control ward, and now if Tucson ever walks up, the pillar will answer him. He will not be able to escape with the flash over the pillar, get full value out of the Devour. So you do actually get a very crucial cooldown in that particular play. We're back topside, so I guess the mid lane action is subsiding.
Yeah. Nothing else is happening. We're going to show you guys this up in the top side. Keen notably was able to get that solo kill in game number 1 against the Gnar with his Scion, but This time against the Cho'Gath, not going to be able to do too much. Mowgli being cheeky. Going to come in with the Smite Steal up against Peanut.
No one moves any further, and if I look at the one-item power spike on the AD carries, I'm a much bigger fan of the one on the Kai'Sa, because she has more all-in options than the Jhin, who's largely just going to be farming as safely as possible. So there is always the outplay with the Killer Instinct, which has been a late-game spell so far for Prey. Hasn't been using it during the laning phase.
So we take a step back here. You notice that this turret, even though Kramer and Tushin have been having a bit of trouble down on the bottom side, they haven't given up too much health on their turret, which is very nice. This laning phase will extend, and so far Tushin has shown that he can fight up against the Morgana just fine.
Theory from Kingzone is if they can outlast the biggest zone of impact of the Skarner, which is around level 6, they're happy for the game to continue going on. Try for the check. I don't believe it actually registers there.
Not sure how they know this, but Peanut all the way up on the top side cannot answer this. Mowgli comes into the river, says, hey, I know where Peanut is. Let's go for this right now. They just walk into the Infernal, take it away. Nice little advantage for Afreeca.
Yeah, really nice use of timings. They had the control on the bot side as well. No bot side mid lane priority for the BDD to pop his head in that time. We saw that 5 minutes ago, but not happening at 12 minutes. Means unanswered Drake goes the way of Afreeca Freecs. Again, Kingzone not having any Skarner ultimates to have to respect in the early game, and then having the Black Shield as the game goes on is pretty happy news for them. Only a single Drake is what Afreeca are able to claim in the first 13 minutes.
Both the top laners going towards that banner of command. You think which one is going to be stronger against that? Certainly the Cho'Gath with this feast will be able to get rid of that bannered up minion with his true damage on the ultimate. So going to be having a bit more fun up in the top side means that he can probably answer some map rotations a bit faster than the Scion. Although the Scion does have his ultimate to get in as well. And
I feel like the follow-up bites that Kai'Sa was so able to take advantage of around the Baron dance in game number 2 are even stronger here. The pillar against no flash Skarner or no flash on the Tahm Kench is going to be death. They still have the same general playstyle around objectives that Kingzone had in the previous game. They even have the Weaver's Wall to profit off summoners being down as well. So I feel like as the game goes on, when it comes to this frontline versus frontline game, I think Kingzone has some great tools to trade upon. We have to remember, though, that Kuro will continue to scale on damage compared to the Galio in game number 1.
Yeah. Take a look at some of the jungle stats so far. Peanut was 2 for 2, so he's a bit more efficient with his ganks so far in terms of, you know, he doesn't always get a kill with the ganks, but when he does gank, it's an overall positive trade. That's usually what we mean by a winning gank here at Spo TV. Mention how a lot of this is about can the two junglers of Afreeca really fight up against Peanut. So far, banning out Peanut's aggressive pool, forcing him onto these more passive picks, has been working out, especially with Mowgli coming in as well, getting a lot of study time in the first 2 games to fight up against Peanut.
And in previous metas, in previous years, you know, before he was as tenured in the LCK as he is now, that was one way to answer Peanut in a best of 5. If you were forcing him onto a Cinderhulk jungler, a farming jungler, a scaling jungler, you were winning because he was the Lee Sin and Nidalee 2-Trick, who was super aggressive. This season, his Zac has been one of his best picks. His ability to play both scaling and early game skirmishing junglers has been a true highlight on the side of Peanut. So not the same ability to influence him in picks and bans now that there was earlier in his career.
You notice that Peanut's been hanging around the bottom side. Once and again, you mentioned how having the flash down on the Tahm Kench will certainly make those ganks a little bit more effective, but the flash is up once again. All the summoners are available. It's been very hard for our 2 junglers to really find any ganks outside of the top side ganks. And really, it's just been a passive game from them. They're just trying to farm up as much as possible, but getting some vision wins here on the red side is Kingzone, trying to make a play with Peanut once again in the bottom.
Super smart ward, though, outside of the range of a control ward in that brush. They know with Jhin, their ability to skirmish and walk up is lesser. Jhin finds it very tricky to walk up because he wants to be at range to hit his root, the W, Deadly Flourish there. So if he's walking up to try to help in a brush check, you can be turned around upon. They give it up. Very nice ward out of range, though. Kingzone getting aggressive vision around objectives is what the entire comp is built around. The Weaver's Wall and the pillar placement is what this comp is made for.
Trying to beat in Mowgli here. Gonna miss the seismic jump. He flashes in. Look at the response from Afreeca. Trying to get the kill, and he does. Kramer able to turn him down. Peanut getting extremely low as well. Is forced to flash away. BDD and Prey, though, moving forward, trying to do the damage on the Kuro, but Tucson is there. And Kramer able to lock him down. Opening on up for the curtain call. One shot, two shot. The wall, though, is gonna interrupt him. Really nice response from BDD. But in the end of the fight, Afreeca does take the win.
Notwithstanding interruption, no Gragas cast. Really nice use of the Weavers Wall. Spares the blushes. Peanut and Prey were in no position to tank up any of the shots. Black Shield at the split-second time stopped the suppression, but Morgana is super, super squishy. That's not a Braum Gorilla. You're gonna die real fast.
Certainly is. I love the response from Mowgli in that fight. We all thought he was the one being baiting it in, but he was able to see him as well. He sees he's being baited, dodges the seismic shove, and flashes in.
Both teams think they're baiting the enemy. Good play from Mowgli to move forwards. A flash ult does register. I apologize. It was onto Gorilla, and they just kill him during the duration. I thought the Black Shield answered. I was incorrect. They get the kill from there, and Prey jumps in. The damage is not there. The setup is not there. And if this Weaver's Wall didn't come in, this would have been a big advantage of Afreeca.
The response time from BDD was there. One or two more shots, especially that fourth one, certainly would have meant the end of his life. Prey, that is. But he does eventually get away. Great teamwork from Kingzone to make the best of an awkward situation. But where do we stand from here? Afreeca, they get an extra kill. They have that early Infernal Drake. It's a very small lead, but Afreeca looking pretty so far.
Kingzone looking for effectively a lane gank here. They're coming over the blast cone.
Oh, there's that pillar. He's going to be locked down by the Q from the Morgana. Is he going to get out of this? No, he did not have his flash. No escape from the pillar, as you mentioned before. Nice setup there from Kingzone.
They thought because they had double control ward mid lane, they had enough ability to walk up, but no flash onto Tucson is turned around. Nice gank timing. Creative gank also coming from the side of Kingzone. They desperately want to break the outer turrets and make this an objective game where vision is king and the dark binding, the pillar of ice, or the Weaver's Wall coming out of the darkness will be an instant victory. A semi-victory here, but notice that Tucson does have teleport if they want to go for this trade.
Predator coming in here. Will he go on to Prey? No, not going to play with the Morgana this time, but the TP from Tucson, who has the unsealed spellbook. They want to get this down. Peanut, can he get the steal? The answer is no. In the end, another Drake will go over to Afreeca.
Really nice play there from Afreeca. Just the Predator value he got. Dropped them back, allowed the respawn. Teleport came in from Tucson. Had more members up forward. Kingzone didn't want to over-pursue. Second Drake of the game goes the way of Afreeca.
Ooh. Abyssal Voyage up into the top side, gonna try to lock down Khan, but he does dodge the deadly flourish. But now with the banner of command, just trying to get onto this turret. No response from Kingzone. They're going to the bottom side, and now Khan and this turret should certainly go down. The Devourer is gonna get in there, and Afreeca pick up another kill.
Just desserts coming through from the Tahm Kench. So far, the use of the ultimate has been on point. Usually, it's Kingzone. 11 games of Tahm Kench who are out-rotating. This time, largely from behind. They catch Khan unawares. He's on the Cho'Gath, not his usual way to play. And they're able to get the first turret, and they're pushing for a second.
Afreeca looking so good on the map. Old SKT-esque plays where they take a tiny advantage and they make it into something so big. Winning the fight at the Cloud Drake, moving into mid lane, able to rotate up into the top. They get 2 turrets and a kill. That's going to add some nice gold to their bank.
And Valdez, I want to really point out that the location of these 2 turrets is very relevant. We see a lot of games where a team takes a turret disadvantage, they give up 2 turrets, but the enemy can never return to it. It doesn't matter. When you take the inner turret top lane against a team that desperately wants to play around objectives, Baron in particular, so much extra space to come for a flank, so much extra space to put in deep wards in the enemy red side jungle, it decreases Kingzone's ability to play around the Baron, and given the comp that Kingzone has drafted, that is a heavy price to pay.
Certainly is. We're getting another look at the bottom lane. Sorry about that, guys. So we'll get back to the action eventually. Banner commands not doing much against the Scion as well. He can just roar them away as the the very interesting tank fight we have in the bottom lane continues, but Afreeca with this lead, gonna be looking to once again repeat their performance from game 1, get a bunch of vision around this Baron, and try to go for it. I mentioned it at the beginning of the game, they're gonna be relying on a lot of damage from Kuro, the Azir, to do damage to the Baron. They have the Jhin. It's not the fastest Baron take here in terms of your AD carry. They also were not able to get a Mountain Drake this time around, so it's gonna take a lot longer to try to sneak a Baron here for Afreeca.
Second turret in the top lane will help, but I do take your point. Jhin and Baron do not go hand in hand unless you're turning off Baron, and the Jhin is able to open up with the curtain call and get a lot of damage done. Speaking of damage, Dice has been well held in this game, still getting an item build together. Has not gone for the Hurricane. We won't see the full Supercharger build. It's gone for the Rapid Fire Cannon for a bit more safety. When you have the Skarner ultimate to respect, when you also have a secondary threat in the mid lane, the safety is much lower for Prey in the 5v5, so he has to be more respectful.
Peanut in a bit of an awkward spot there, nearly gets stunned up trying to get some vision around the Baron, but as I said before, once they do get control of the river, you'll notice just how many wards go down, all the control wards. So far, the only ward that Kingzone really has around there is that one control ward on the left side, so once Afreeca take that out, they will control this river.
Skarner comp has map control. They can push up to seen the crime, the inner turret they took earlier. Mowgli just comes, helps to push up, and they get more vision red side than you would ever expect for a comp like Afreeca's at 22 minutes. What does that mean for the Baron? That, of course, is the million-dollar question, but BDD has to be so passive. No proactive Weaver's Wall play has happened this game, and it's hard to see how anything outside of the interrupt of the curtain call is going to be available. Mid lane priority, a thing of the past, and while Kingzone and Khan in particular can go and spend some time in the enemy red side jungle, Afreeca Freecs do own mid-game map control.
Certainly they do. Kingzone trying to fight back in that way, making a path towards the river as Afreeca go back. This next dragon not going to be too much priority on this one, just the Ocean Drake, so will mostly be just sitting on Infernal Cloud for Afreeca. They're not going to make any big plays to get that Ocean unless they can just pick it up along their way.
As he's playing away from vision, Cho'Gath does have the priority in the bot lane, can walk up, but they're trying mid lane.
Oh, there you go, gonna get him locked down, and unbelievable! This time, no Morgana around Prey. He's gonna be locked down out of nowhere, and that is a huge pick onto the side of Kingzone. Now, Afreeca can begin to push down mid lane.
Prey's too far up without his Morgana. Trundle cannot answer what the Skarner can do when his flash is available. They kill him, and remember that Baron setup, it could be so important.
Look at that damage coming out from Kramer. Gorilla, you mentioned the Morgana. Now he's a bit out of the fight as he gets extremely low. Will they turn onto the Baron?
Oh, they will.
With Prey down, they certainly can. And Khan just going to be pushing the bottom lane awkwardly. Not much he can do.
Peanut has flash. He can flash in. They have the feast. Here comes Cho'Gath.
Okay, nice little wall. Going to have to devour Mowgli over that one. And I mentioned that damage from before. They can't pick it down enough. And just one Weaver's Wall is going to be enough to counter that Baron take.
And all they get out of it is Cho'Gath's teleport. Sion in the side lane. Not going to have massive Baron turret damage, I should say. So not going to be an easy thing for them to get the maximum out of. So does spare the blushes of Prey a little bit. Was a bit tone deaf on where the map was at, and the Skarner was able to take him down. Now Skarner ult is down, but Kingzone's first priority is getting control of this red side jungle and stopping the repeat play from happening again.
Let's take another look in the mid lane of exactly how this happened. Prey, he's on a ward. They see him just CSing, and he does not respect it, has his own flash, does not flash early enough, and the easiest gank you ever saw, something not very common here at the highest level.
He was tunnel visioned on the creeps coming in mid, and by the time he knew he could flash, it was too late realistically as we're watching the clip, understanding where Prey's mindset is at. The lane ward getting massive value there. It's just going to time out and replaced actually by the time Kench moves it further up. The teleport down on Khan means that a repeat pick is possible for the side of Afreeca, but I think the Kingzone got the memo and going to be more respectful next time up.
I mentioned Afreeca, if they can get far enough ahead in terms of map control, they would go for this Ocean Drake. Gonna go for it now. Nice double stun there from Keen to just deny any engagement. They're gonna try to go for the pillar, getting huge value. The Sion running into the wall, gonna sacrifice himself for the rest of his team. Down goes Keen and says, here, take me with you. I think he could have tried to get out of that one. Not really sure what that charge was all about, Papa.
Seemed like a communication disconnect. The moment you press that ultimate, you're going in one direction. It was the wrong way.
Look at Kramer trying to go in and crit him down, but takes a ton of damage himself. Trying to disengage now, but there's Bray in the front line. Not able to take him down in time. Finally does, but will go down to the turret. Gets a double kill onto the bottom lane in the course of it. Now Azir going to be jumped upon. Unfortunately, Kuro out of position here, but he does survive in the end.
BDD?
Here comes BDD trying to challenge, and he does. BDD is not going to go down to the turret as well. Kingzone striking back in a huge manner.
This is some risky business by Kingzone. They're going so aggressive. Their AD carry gets a 1 for 2. They still have a lust for blood. They'll get this mid lane out of turret, but the moment that Prey went down, the Baron buff was no longer a possibility.
This is the finals we hoped for, starting our best of 3 in game 3, all tied up here. It's swinging back and forth. Afreeca were ahead, but Kingzone, they strike back.
So let's watch the replay here, and Kramer really has a rush of blood to the head. Watch the replay. He gets baited by the deadly flourish damage, goes up, and should be expected that he goes down. They can't buy enough vision. It doesn't matter if you have the Azir ultimate. You're going to be able to get into the front line. Prey does still a lot of damage. You can see the damage items are started to register. The 2 for 1 means that no Baron can be picked up because they don't have enough Baron damage anymore. Secure but not damage. But the lust for blood on Kingzone, it's strong.
Kuro just making a mistake afterwards as well. He walks straight into Khan and says, please, knock me up into the air. I dare you. And Khan's like, okay, I guess I will. Down he does go. Nice play by BDD. That min-maxing I was talking about, able to get it there in the end with the extra kill.
And the edge complete on Prey. So the Q Evolve is now online. Previously been focused on his superchargers. So the Q Evolve comes in a little bit late. This is a Kai'Sa you can't lose track of, like they have been guilty of a couple of times tonight. Already mentioned that Baron damage and Baron secure is there for Kingzone. They have an insane ability to both finish the Baron and turn off Baron. And if they can get the forward vision to complement the control wards that are coming, that's where Afreeca Freecs starts to lose some options.
Certainly so. Prey trying to make a case for himself to be the MVP of the series if Kingzone can eventually win this one. Already has 1 MVP under his belt. Trying to be that popping off Kai'Sa on 8.6 that everybody knows and loves. So far, outside of that 1 hiccup in the mid lane, has been having quite the series here. Certainly the carry so far for Kingzone. Okay.
Back on the Baron.
Interesting choice underneath the control ward.
Really, really hard for Afreeca. Kingzone know, because of the comp, they're the only team to actually really play any Jhin this season, are Kingzone, that it's all about Baron turn, it's never about Baron damage or finishing the Baron when you are running that Jhin, so they're not going to be taking that bluff at any point. They've got the pillar to check brush. We're watching bot lane. Okay, this is fun.
Interesting choice there. As Mowgli is looking for a target now, but Black Shield is going to help out Gorilla. They're going to turn again.
They know
the turn.
Only 1 control ward on Cho'Gath. There's no control wards now.
The wall going to come on in. Mowgli taking a lot of damage. Will they turn? They're committing to it here. Trying to get the damage. They got it. Go, but Kramer disappears. Will they have enough damage to fight back? Kuro getting extremely low himself. And I'm not sure that he can get out of this one. Tries to, but he cannot. They get the Baron, but 3 members are going to go down from the Afreeca Freecs.
And that's the cost. If you want to remove Baron from the map, you will take severe casualties if you're the side of Afreeca. They make the beeline because there were no control wards left to check the pit if you were Kingzone. But Prey comes in, he gap closes, he's not going to go down. And that means that the push will start for Kingzone.
They got to wait until everybody respawns, and at this point in the game, it's going to be significant. You got 40-second death timers already. Kingzone looking on point. You can see that they're all communicating in the booth. They take out 1 turret. There goes a second. Going to add to their gold lead here as they do take it, passing the 30-minute mark.
And now I'm left with the question as an analyst of, Kingzone have the draft that is the god at playing around Baron. Is it worth giving up some kills, giving up some map control to remove Baron from the map for 7 minutes? Because Kingzone's entire comp is made to do this from the front foot. It's from the back foot. It does end up with some kills going down, but now the best place for Kingzone to fight isn't online for 7 minutes. There is the Baron buff on a couple of members. It's so hard to call worth one way or the other, but I feel like the next 6 minutes might let us know.
It's going to be very telling. You got Banner of Command on 2 members now of Afreeca, so they're going to try to, fight back against that gold lead that Kingzone did take with all the kills. They got the Baron gold. Now they're going to be looking for some objectives here. Going for this mid inhibitor, but look at Kramer. He's in a bit of trouble here. The Devourer is down, and down he does go. No way to get him. Tushin, he devours up Mowgli and doesn't have it available for Kramer. Means that he goes down, and the Baron push is stopped.
Kramer's flash still available. Don't know if it was at the start of that play. I want to say no, but he goes down at the split second he can't afford to. Keen will get some time. He might take a bot lane outer turret, but it's just going to be an answering one for Afreeca.
Yeah, just going to trade 1-for-1 in this, and as the rotation comes in, at least the Scion can get out of the way here. Will mean that a Cloud Drake is answered. Finally, the first Drake for Kingzone is going to go over to them.
Let's return to the start of this game. Tushin, the engage god, Gorilla, the disengage champion. We've really rewarded Tushin's proactive plays on the Tahm Kench, the use of the Abyssal Voyage, but the Devourers haven't really been that on point. Watching the replay, seems like Flash is available.
There it is.
Devourers used, they shouldn't be surprised. He's too trigger happy on the Devourer, Valdez, so even though Flash was up, the deletion damage comes in. And Tushin needs to be a bit more on point, because if Jin dies first, this is always going to be the result.
Cannot let your AD carry go down. Let the Skarner go to the Wolves. Doesn't really matter, but I love the proactiveness from Kingzone. They say, Devour's down, we're going right now.
That's where Tushin is tripping up on this Tahm Kench. A priority from the side of Afreeca, a denial from the side of Kingzone, but not the way Tushin found so many regular season MVPs, 9 MVPs on the season. It's far away from Rakan, and when they're behind in the game, it seems to actually be a cost to the side of Afreeca.
Certainly does feel that way. Kingzone now going to steal away a blue from the Azir, should help out with the push, but I could see this game, now that the Baron is down, the Drake goes down, there's no big objective. As I say that though, the wall is going to come in. We got the Azir turret, and the rest of Afreeca able to back off. Thinking about an engage here from Mowgli, decide against it, and the Weaver's wall will be down.
Bit of a paranoia ult there. It's basically Nocturne zoning with his ult, because we saw Cho'Gath lumbering from base. They weren't actually going to fully engage, so I think it was just some mind games there, or just a missed call from Kingzone. Seems that the Weaver's Wall will be down for a while. Item builds are starting to come together. 4 items on the Kai'Sa, who, remember, was much lower on the damage charts not 5 minutes ago. Things starting to push forward a little bit. Map control is back for Kingzone. The Baron is not there. The Elder Dragon is not spawned. So in a long lane, just like we've seen from this Kai'Sa a couple of times, actually pushing forward from Kingzone is pretty impossible. They're kind of waiting on a neutral minion to actually fight over.
Yep, that's going to be the case here. So we should have some downtime in the game as long as nobody makes a mistake. There's no big objective for either of these teams to make a play towards. And so Afreeca just got to play it safe, maybe look for some picks of their own.
It is Hurricane Jin in the end. First item was the rapid fire cannon. For people joining late, we have been informed that on patch 8.6, Jin is not allowed to buy the Rage Blade, which of course is a big pick for him on patch 8.6. If you buy it, you have to go back and refund it for a gold loss if you have left the base. So he has to go a little bit different to expectations on 8.6, and that's led to a bit of a hodgepodge build compared to what is the maximum power.
Yeah. Kramer, you can tell that he's confident on the Jin. The build, regardless of build, he's been a bit overconfident, you can say, in this series. He gets baited by that 4th shot crit onto the Morgana, trying to dive 1v5. BDD in a lot of trouble up here all alone. Are we going to have this? The Abyssal Voice coming in, and BDD nowhere for him to go, is going to be shut down. Prey, though, coming from behind. Kuro's getting low. They're trying to damage this Cho'Gath, but not enough. He's going to get...
Prey.
There goes Prey into the backline. Now he's up to Kramer. Can he get him? Nice Devour to get him out of dodge here, but Kuro goes down, and Prey is doing incredible damage in the backline. Takes out Mowgli. Going for Keen. No one to answer this Kai'Sa as she rips through the Afreeca Freecs team. Tushin is going to go down eventually, as it should be. The ace is trying to flash and deny that ace, but here comes Prey. Will eventually take him, as Tushin will go down. The ace goes over to Prey. His Kai'Sa popping off tonight.
And when the GE Tigers first came together, all of their success was on the back of Prey on the Kog'Maw. 4 years later, he jumps on the Kai'Sa, first professional games of Kai'Sa in this series, and he's decided that Kingzone are going to MSI. He has decided that he is the hard carry. The team agrees this will be Inhibitor. Maybe not quite the game for Kingzone DragonX.
Can't quite end it just yet. We're only 35 minutes into the game. They've got only 3 members, no Baron, of course, and so they do it. What looked like a pick onto BDD, Kingzone turn around really fast in this game.
And when you watch the replay, remember that the re-engage happens when Kuro is at 300 HP. So while the Kingzone mid laner is down, the Afreeca mid laner is out of the fight in many ways. So watch the replay. BDD goes for a side lane play, very, very standard. This is a nice collapse coming through from Afreeca. Now, it takes longer than they would have wanted. They don't get the first ult coming in from the Azir. They have to use more resources. And by the time the fight goes on, Kuro is at 200 health. And watch Prey, he's able in a skirmish in one of these unorganized fights when you can't use all your cooldowns to peel away from the Kai'Sa, to make everywhere a front line for the Kai'Sa. Wherever the Kai'Sa goes, only good things follow for Kingzone.
Prey able to reposition so easily with this pick. It was unfortunate his first auto attack was actually onto a tank, otherwise it would have looked even that much more impressive. Either way, Kingzone, very impressive in this game so far. Gonna take a very free Baron with this Weaver's Wall. Nothing that Afreeca can do.
Introduction to trying to contest Baron against Kingzone. Impossible. Somehow S++ tier when it comes to Baron comps after an S tier comp in game number 2. Game number 3, Kingzone have a huge edge. They've been able to rewrite the first Baron going against them, and now they're pushing forward. They don't have the world's best siege, but they're gonna try anyway.
They've got the lead though, 5,000, Prey moving forward, just got a crit in the face, and immediately Kuro has to back off. Look at the strength of this push. They've got a Scion to try to fight back, but very scary for them. We'll see Keen in the front line already taking a bunch, and that turret getting very low. So many minions pushing with the Baron, and nothing that Afreeca can do to stop this.
There's just so many things to respect. Just the pillar, massive with the flashes being down. Mowgli tries to walk up. This is not what you want to walk up to.
Going on in there, trying to take him out. Seismic Shove is going to get 3, and that's going to shut down the game as they get 2 in the end of it, make it 3. As Kuro and Kramer have to leave with their tail between their legs. Kingzone fighting back here in game number 3. They were behind, but they say, we are the better team. We are going to win this one, and that they will. They fight back. They want the kill. They're going to go into the base there. They take him out. They take the Nexus, and game 3 goes to Kingzone.
And you know when a plan comes together, when the Kai'Sa rips through 2 fights, and the Seismic Shove and the Talia from BDD is an afterthought. But one ability closes the game for Kingzone. They are now knocking on the door of the Summoners Cup and going towards future events. LCK title, they are so close to it. Getting a bit ahead of myself with the Summoners Cup. But Kingzone DragonX, they're going to force a Kai'Sa ban, and I think it's time for Afreeca Freecs to go back to the drawing board for game number 4.
You definitely have to. Things were looking so good for them, but one mistake, a mistake they could not afford against a team as good as Kingzone, and immediately Kingzone take the reins. Prey says, you guys are not going to ban my Kai'Sa? I'll show you why I pick it 3 games in a row. And I guarantee you guys that something has to answer this Kai'Sa in game 4. Whether it's a ban, a first pick, or some new counter, where's the genius going to come from? Is it going to be just the ban, or will Afreeca concoct a way to stop this Kai'Sa?
And this was the first time in the 2v2 that Afreeca looked exposed. The Jhin Tahm Kench actually negatively contributed in many ways to how this game went on. They didn't have a plan around the Jhin, had to go for a hodgepodge build. And Tucson on the disengage, not the engage he's known for, is not working out for Afreeca. Unless those early roams can come through from the Abyssal Voyage, I think the Tahm Kench needs to go on the bench.
Would have to agree, bench the Kench here is the call from Papa Smithy. Kingzone, the team we expected to win this one. They give up 1 game, but they're on match point now. 1 win away. Cheers from the crowd as they leave. But we're going to have to wait another break before we jump into game number 4. We'll see you guys in just a bit.